Hey, everyone. I hope you're doing well this morning. Second cup of coffee. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. I am Andy Hall. It's all about progressive politics, a bit of atheism, and a lot of laughs. Hopefully, it's going to be a lot of laughs. I hope you're doing well this morning. Got rid of that echo, and let's do something funny.
Things that you would never hear a private school kid say.
They found me guilty.
Wait, hold up. Let the woman speak.
Who's R.M. William?
Hey, I don't care if it's said in the rap song, you still can't say it.
Oh, this? I got it from Kmart.
Yeah, my parents are still together. Yeah, I'm not that interested in drugs.
You know, I don't think these blazers make us look pretentious.
So I actually don't know what my dad does for a living.
Oh yeah, my dad's actually a stand-up comedian.
Remember, boys, what do we always say? Always ask for consent.
Well, I hope you're doing well. I think I'm doing well. I had that conversation with Michael Weissman last night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I feel like it was a good conversation. I feel like we talked a lot about his book, about Christianity, about his experiences being a hardcore fundamentalist Christian when he was younger. And once again, I love reading the books of the guests. I have Jonathan M.S. Pierce coming in on the 12th at 7 a.m. I know it's an early time. He's over in Britain. This is the time that works for him because he has small kids doing the school thing at home. So we're going to be doing it 7 a.m. on Monday the 12th. And his book is all about debunking the resurrection. Should be a lot of fun. See how chat's doing. Hey, Brainbug. Jesse Beer. Glad to see you, Theo. Theoretically, Derek Cruz. Paul Camish. Glad to see you, sir. James Henry. I'm not doing that badly. My girlfriend has the day off, and I had to kick her out of the bedroom. You may think this is the newsroom, but this is just So she was very merciful to me. Bonnie Enid, glad to see that you're here. Willie. Oh, yeah. All right. I think I got to everybody. So what are the stories we're covering today? Glad that you asked. Confederate statues. There's a court case in Virginia about whether or not it's legal to get rid of the Confederate statues at Charlottesville. So there's an update. The infrastructure bill, just a smattering, a little bit of information about what's in the infrastructure bill. PTSD and COVID. We're going to be hearing, once we get the pandemic under control, there's going to be all these stories coming out about the deaths. There's actually a lot more deaths than what we originally thought, and what the after effects are of COVID. And this article is about PTSD and COVID. And Derek Chauvin, that guy, we're going to talk about his trial. We're going to talk about Matt Gaetz. We got a video clip about Matt Gaetz, and we got a small clip about Trump's legal trouble. Once again, I'm going to try to cram all that in up until 5 minutes before 10. 5 minutes before 10, I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then we do the after party, after show, open room. If you want to pop in. The link to the after party is in the description, and I believe it's the first. Well, yeah, I should have put it in, but I didn't. But I believe it's in the description below, and it's definitely in the next video coming up on this channel. So there's a link if you want to come in the backstage and hang out at 10 o'clock. Typically go from 10 to 11. What's up, to Mordecai? Glad to see you here. And John Hudson. Pleasure, sir. Yes, we are. Yeah, we're going to talk about how Matt Gaetz is not popular amongst other Republicans and the drama that is Matt Gaetz. First, let's do something funny. Let's do some memes. Let's do some, maybe Easter. Easter is coming up. You may not know that Christians are always going do you know about the good news of Jesus? It's like, we live in a Christian cultural nation here, at least here in the States. And it's like, yes, you cannot get away from Jesus. He is the official and or unofficial stalker to every single person living in the United States of America. But Easter is coming up, and here's something dark. Easter God. Sorry, kid. I'm the Ether Bunny. I guess he's like the Krampus, the Easter version for Easter, the Ether Bunny. All right. Here, this one may not be as funny as it makes a very strong point. It makes a very strong point about why skepticism in history is really taught well in schools. You get some old school Linus action here. No one is going to give you the education you need to overthrow them. No one is going to give you the education you need to overthrow them. It isn't in the best interest of the oligarchs or the would-be theocrats to give you the tools to think critically. Yeah. Last but not least, is it funny? Is it shocking? Is it distasteful? Tooth's favorite cookie, Oreo and crust, always made with real toothpaste. I shudder to think what the double stuff would be like. Double stuff, Oreo and crust. All right. I found those entertaining. Hopefully you did. Hey, Bonnie, you did. Jesus does slave. That is correct. Very pro-slave. Few things that the Bible's fairly consistent on is being anti-gay and being pro-slave. Oh, at least better. That's a classic right there. What did Jesus say when he was on the cross? I could see my house from here. Indeed. Elevating the conversation here on the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. Anyone else? This is interesting. Jesse Beer says, anyone else creeped out by the chocolate crosses like Bunny? Okay, people eat meat, but a cross? Yeah. Indeed. All right. So, news stories. We're going to dive right into the news stories. Confederate. This is good. This is actually good news, everyone. This is good news. Links in the description below. Virginia court rules Charlottesville can take down Confederate statues. Ruling includes statue of Robert E. Lee that became the focus of white nationalist rally in 2017 that turned violent and deadly. Oh, I'm sure we all remember the tiki torch wearing bros with their polo shirts and khakis yelling blood and soil. In America it could be blood, oil, and soil, but I digress. Let's go to the story. Virginia's highest court ruled on Thursday that the city of Charlottesville can take down 2 statues of Confederate generals, including one of Robert E. Lee that became the focus of a white nationalist rally in 2017 that turned extremely violent and ultimately deadly. The state Supreme Court overturned an appeal court decision that had been previously made in favor of a group of residents who sued to block the city from taking down the Lee statue in a nearby monument to fellow General Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson. Charlottesville City Council voted to remove both. Interesting thing about Stonewall Jackson, crazy as sin. Super religious too. Didn't think he could win a battle unless he kept his, I believe it was his right hand up high. Story continues. The Jackson statue was erected in Jackson Park in Charlottesville in 1921, and the Lee statue was erected in Lee Park in the city in 1924. In 1918, the city had accepted a resident's offer to donate land for parks for both statues. City officials praised the ruling in a statement Thursday and said they plan to redesign the park spaces where the statues are located in a way that promotes healing and that tells a more complete history of Charlottesville. Charlottesville Mayor, I'm going to try to pronounce this name, Nikua Walker praised the court ruling and those in the community who had pushed for the statue's removal for their steadfastness and perseverance over the last 5 years. for all of us who were on the right side of history. Bravo. It's not just being on the right side of history, but also being on the winning side of history too. Because a lot of the times the right side of history doesn't really win, at least in the short term. Story continues. The University of Virginia's Richard Schrager, that's how I'm pronouncing his name, who specializes in the intersection of constitutional law and local government law, said he expects Thursday's decision to be the final word in the long-running case, since he doesn't see any grounds for a challenge under federal law, in other words, to the U.S. Supreme Court. In the Virginia state capital of Richmond, city officials removed numerous statues on the city's famed Monument Avenue after they became a focal point of racial justice protests last summer. But a huge statue of Lee remains, with a lawsuit about that in front of the state Supreme Court. Good news overall. The Supreme Court of Virginia overturned a lower court, and now Charlottesville can get rid of Andy Jackson and Robert E. Lee. Positives all around. See, isn't this feeling good? I'm feeling good already, everyone. I'm feeling good already. The most, Jesse Bear. The most insane thing is I forget which one, but the big names from the Confederacy specifically said not to glorify him or the president or the Confederacy, and yet here we are in 2021. Yeah, I'm not sure who that was either, Jesse Bear. I'm not sure who that was. All right. I think we can get to the next. Hey, Blazing Wizard Pope, how you doing? Good morning, Internet. Right back at you. Oh, wow. Really, Brainbug? My hometown still has a Confederate statue right in front of the courthouse. Yep. Sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. It was Robert E. Lee who didn't want to glorify himself. Yeah, I could definitely see that from Lee, from just knowing about the man's character. The interesting thing about Lee, I believe his dad, he grew up in poverty because his dad pissed away the family money. So the man grew up in he still had his family name and everything, but his dad just pissed through all the family money. Tobin Templeman. I don't think I said hello to Tobin Templeman. Let me say hello. What do we have? We have something about Trump's legal problems. I'm going to look at my cheat sheet. And we have something about Trump's legal problems. And let's take a gander at this video.
Legal pressure on citizen Trump is expanding in all different directions, from Washington to New York to Georgia to even The Apprentice. Now, two Capitol Hill police officers, this is out of D.C., suing the former president. They allege that he incited the January 6th insurrection. The way these cases work, they have to ask for money damages. They're seeking $75,000. And they allege in court that Trump inflamed, encouraged, incited, directed, aided, and abetted the insurrectionist mob. Remember, this is police officers talking. It is a tough plaintiff to face. They also allege that Trump directed intentional infliction of emotional distress and assault and battery that he abetted. Now, if these cases move forward, something we've been covering here on The Beat is that it's possible to have discovery or even potentially see citizen Trump, no longer president, face a deposition. Now, here's what former acting U.S. Solicitor General Neil Katyal says about why this is major.
Donald Trump is in serious trouble. And, the difference between now and the past is that the Republican Party and senior officials in there are inviting this trouble now and saying that there's merit to it.
That's one view from one veteran DOJ official, but he's not alone. Take another former federal prosecutor, Renato Mariotti, who's been analyzing and covering some of this for us on The Beat. He tells me Trump could even settle to avoid that high-stakes deposition.
I also have to think that Trump is not going to want to have discovery, is not going to want to sit for a deposition, and this really seems to me like the sort of suit that is going to potentially force a favorable settlement on behalf of the officers.
Now, as we've been covering, this is a wide legal storm with many different ingredients. We've never seen a modern president leave office with this many legal headaches, this many accusations. Take a look up in New York, where DA Cy Vance is closing in on Trump Organization's longtime CFO and money man, Alan Weisselberg. He's getting subpoenaed for bank records and any gifts that he may have received from Trump, and whether there's any foul play there. Prosecutors eye internal documents as well from the same organization. They want line-by-line breakdowns of key finances. The idea here is to see if there was lying, if it was deliberate, if it was criminal. Then there's another criminal investigation down in Georgia. Prosecutors looking at a slew of potential crimes, including racketeering. We've seen reports now that are pretty interesting because 2 different grand juries reportedly investigating Trump's efforts there to steal the election. Subpoenas could come. We just don't know in that secretive process what will happen between those grand juries. Then there's the highest court in New York, which is now allowing a former apprentice contestant to go forward with another suit that is about alleged lies by Donald Trump. A lot of lies are legal, but sometimes you can get in trouble for them. They can be illegal. This is a contestant that alleges that Donald Trump committed defamation. Her name, you might remember, is Summer Zervos. She's suing Trump for calling her a liar when she went public with her allegations about what she said was improper conduct by Donald Trump back. She talked about this back in 2016. You might remember her from this moment on the show.
I'm being truthful, and I'll always be truthful.
How stupid is that, right?
It's not stupid.
You know what, Summer? You're fired.
Well, that was the show, and Donald Trump or his character might think that truth is stupid. But that doesn't mean that you can defame someone under American law. He's also previously argued, and this is important as we track all of his problems post-White House, that being president could protect him from these kind of civil suits. Now, the law is mixed on that, but he had some point then as president, meaning he could make that argument to judges. Now, it's moved. Appeals court is allowing this case to go forward, which means the former president could face a deposition on these sensitive issues, separate from the other possible deposition I mentioned earlier. And then on top of all that, a federal judge ruling that a non-disclosure agreement from Trump's 2016 campaign can't be enforced because it's just too broad and too vague. The judge finding that Trump's campaign was basically trying to, quote, suppress speech that it finds detrimental to its interests. That's what Citizen Trump right now is facing. Here's how my colleague Rachel put it.
How's the post-presidency life going for the former president and his most loyal minions? I mean, man.
There are many different ways to put it. It's a lot of different legal pressure on this ex-president. To paraphrase one rapper, by the time this is over, Trump may have to take a knee. Hey, I'm Ari Melbourne.
He always likes referencing rappers. Maybe he's trying to resonate with the kids, with the younger demographic. I don't know. But it always makes me feel good. It warms my heart when I see Donald Trump being bludgeoned by lawsuits. Oh. Well, you know, Dr. Mordecai, there's something to be said for watching him squirm. It's something to be said for watching him being squeezed. I think that's some entertainment value there. And it isn't just Trump being squeezed, with Gaetz, I don't want to get ahead, but, one of his allies in the House getting squeezed too. It is good theater. I'll say that. It is good theater. Oh, Jesse Bear, bringing it back to the Confederacy. The Confederacy glorification confuses me to no end. I'm in Yankee territory. We still have people here that love that stupid crap. It is really confusing. It is confusing up here in the North when people unfurl the Confederate flag. It's like maybe they just drank too much water full of lead. And is that an awkward transition to the next story? That's an awkward transition to the next story, because that is about infrastructure, the infrastructure bill. And believe me, there's a ton of stuff, a ton of information about the infrastructure bill. This is just a very basic overview of it. Links are in the description below, as always, or at least when I remember them. Most of the time, I'm pretty good about putting in links. By the numbers, Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure plan. And I just want to say this. It seems like a radical plan in the same way that it isn't crazy. It's only crazy because, you see, we haven't been spending money on infrastructure. Anyone here in the States, probably internationally too, know that our infrastructure is not the best infrastructure. Crumbling bridges, our water pipes have lead in them, or some of our cities and towns, municipalities have lead water pipes, or water pipes, lined with lead. There's crumbling infrastructure. This is the issue. And the only reason why this $2 trillion seems radical is because we've been kicking this freaking can down the road for decades. Okay, let's take a look at just a few of the numbers. So it's $2 trillion. That's the plan's overall price tag. And for those of you keeping track at home, 13. The U.S. ranks 13th in the world in overall infrastructure, according to the World Economic Forum report in 2019. The Biden administration is using the ranking to emphasize the need to rebuild and upgrade roads, bridges, and much more. Yes, we rank 13th. We are the world's largest economy still, but we still rank 13th. Why do we rank 13th? Because of tax. Because we love tax cuts, or the oligarchs love tax cuts, don't they? They just want tax cuts. They want to line their own pockets and screw the rest of us who rely on the infrastructure. 28%. The proposal would be paid for with a slew of tax increases on corporations. The main corporate tax rate would be raised to 28%, which would be about half as high as what it was before the Republican tax cuts of 2018 that lowered the rate to 21%. And I just want to say something that I think we can all get behind, is that when you look at how much money the states are bringing in for marijuana, for legalizing marijuana, what was that story just a couple of days ago? New York State just legalized marijuana. They're expecting $300 million a year in tax revenue from New York State. Colorado's bringing in $20 million a month in tax revenue. Why doesn't the federal government just make marijuana legal and slap a 1% tax on it, a federal 1% tax on it? And how much could you pay? I mean, that would just be so much money that you could pay for infrastructure. Let's continue. $400 billion. The proposal seeks to spend hundreds of billions on what are traditionally considered infrastructure projects, but it would do a lot more, including putting $400 billion towards expanding access to home or community-based care for elderly and people with disabilities. $500,000. Among the plan's investments in electric vehicles and their infrastructure are grants and incentives for public and private entities to build a network of 500,000 charging stations by 2030. It's well known that many car manufacturers are going all electric within the next decade or two. You're going to have public charging ports. And what's near and dear to my heart, $45 billion to remove lead pipes. I could see why the Republicans don't want that, because they want brain injured people to vote for them. That's part of their marketing plan. If there was a manifesto, the evil cabal, the GOP manifesto would be the make life miserable so people vote for us and make sure they can't think clearly. But yes, $45 billion to remove lead pipes, $56 billion for modernizing water systems. The Guardian and Consumer Reports came out with that story that we covered yesterday about how crappy the water is in this country. $100 billion for high-speed broadband, $100 billion for electric grid and clean energy, and $16 billion for hundreds of thousands of people to work in union jobs. Woohoo, union jobs. And $10 billion for a civilian climate corps, and Republicans are going to call that socialism. And if it is, then we need a lot more of it. We need a lot more of it. I was going for a little bit about me. I was talking with a potential employer. I'm looking around for jobs right now, in the human service field. And the hiring director was saying, well, we're a union company. Once you join, you enter a union. It's like, thank my fictitious God. I support unions, not police unions, at least in their current manifestation. But yeah, I'd love to be in a union. I've been in a union before, would love to be in a union again. So that is a basic overview of the infrastructure bill. There's a lot more to this article. Links in the description. Time to catch up with chat. Jesse Bear, I can't wait for electric vehicles to be normal. I've wanted one for so long, but I've yet to see a minivan one. Oh yeah. Apparently you can't be eco-friendly and have kids. It's difficult. Tobin says it scrolls down here. The water towers are neglected. Yeah, dude, that can't be good. Right? The rust inside and contaminates the water. Oh, right. I can't wait to see the Volkswagen. Indeed. If you haven't heard about that, Volkswagen did an April Fool's Day joke the day before, saying it was going to rebrand Volkswagen to Volkswagen. Hey, Wild Eden, good to see you. Well, James Henry, you know what? It is interesting about Trump and what his plan is. I get the feeling he's somewhat adrift right now. But maybe, the thing is with Trump, he knows it's all about cresting, right? So if he's laying low, he wants to crest as, we get closer to 2024, right? He'll probably pop his head out around the mid-election, the mid-year, the midterm elections, and then he wants to crest during, if he is going to run again, he wants to crest right during the primary debates. Hey, B, glad to see you. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's a company, this is my I can't believe this is happening, and this is my other I can't believe this is happening. The thing is, this infrastructure, what we're putting money into, it's an investment. Tax cuts for the rich are not an investment. I don't know why that's so difficult for everyday people to understand here in the States. Tax cuts are not an investment. Tax cuts for the rich are not an investment. Let's see. I think I'm caught up with everything in the chat. And let's go in Vancouver. Here we go. Simply Secular Dave. This is interesting. I'm in Vancouver. We have so many electric cars here. You have to be super careful in crosswalks. Well, yeah. They are silent. Right? All right. So halftime show? I think we're at halftime show. I think this is the time.
My super fundamentalist Christian youth group took a mission trip to New York City, and we put together this weird clown play where each clown represented a different sin. So we had abortion clown and premarital sex clown, and I got to play AIDS clown, and we took our weird sin clown play to Spanish Harlem. So about 20 white teenagers are walking down the sidewalk dressed up like clowns in Spanish Harlem, and everyone was giving us dirty looks and yelling at us in Spanish.
Oh my fictitious God. That's a crazy story. I would not want to be any of those clowns. Sin clowns. Who are you going to be in the sin clown passion play? I don't know. Right. Theo says most electric cars make a stupid humming sound when you drive slow. Interesting. All right. Brainbug, were you alive during the 80s? Of course it was a sin. Of course it was. If you're an evangelical Christian back in the 80s, it's most certainly was. It may, yes, that's the short answer and the long answer. All right, let's see. What are we doing next, everyone? AIDS clown. It's just obscene. It's. If you watched the show last night with Michael Weissman, the Bible says what, and we went over some of the crazier aspects of the Bible. It's entertaining and scary about what's in that book, and the Christians who read the book think the book is great. It's good. It's holy. And there's like mostly terrible things in the Bible. And so it's a hop, skip, and a jump from believing in the horrible things in the Bible to making a kid dress up as an AIDS clown that's supposed to be sinful and walk around Spanish Harlem in like maybe, I don't know, the guy was about my age, probably like in 1988 or so. Oh, you're 5. See. Oh, there you go, brain bug. Yeah. I will say this in terms, and I was talking to my kid about this. Having a boyfriend in the 80s during the AIDS crisis, it has prepared me, I think, and I've heard other people say this too, people who survived that epidemic. It has prepared me for this, just in terms of being super anxious and taking a lot of precautions. All right, what's the next story, everyone? What's the next story? PTSD and COVID. Once again, we're going to be hearing all these stories about the after effects of COVID. The death totals are going to be a lot higher than what the official death totals are, more than likely. And there's going to be a bunch of crazy stories coming out. And one of them is about post-COVID PTSD, the storm after the storm. This is from CNN Health. Once again, this is an abbreviated version of this story. There should be links in the description below. PTSD, for those of you who don't know, is a mental disorder in which a person experiences thoughts, flashbacks, and nightmares that strike unexpectedly and bring the person back to the moment of the trauma. The re-experiencing of memories causes panic attacks and trouble sleeping. It may occur in patients who experience a traumatic event, said Dr. Delphine Janeri. I'm going to pronounce her name like that, who helped a single center study published in February 2021 in the Journal of the American Medical Association Psychiatry, and psychiatrist at, she's a psychiatrist at that university in Italy, told CNN. So in this case, we consider having experienced severe and acute COVID illness. It's no surprise that if you have severe COVID symptoms, there's a very high, there is a greater chance of you getting PTSD from your illness. Janeri's study covered 381 patients treated in a hospital at Rome, Italy, between April and October in 2020. After recovery from infection, all patients were referred to post-recovery care center, where they received a full psychiatric evaluation. The patients were evaluated for anxiety, depression, mood disorders, and PTSD. We were surprised by the fact that most of the symptoms we found clustered around the PTSD syndrome, Janeri told CNN. They also looked for patient characteristics that increased the risk for developing PTSD. The strongest predictor was persistence of 3 or more COVID symptoms, the same symptoms described by long COVID patients: fatigue, brain fog, heart palpitations, difficulty breathing, headaches, and others. Yeah, I could say that having one of those symptoms would be anxiety provoking for me. The idea that just difficulty breathing, that happens to be one of my things, one of my anxiety, like the anxiety, when I think about not being able to breathe, that's anxiety provoking. So if you have 3 of these symptoms, you have an increased risk of developing PTSD. If you have fatigue, brain fog, heart palpitations, difficulty breathing, headaches, and a smattering of other ones, you have a greater chance of getting PTSD. And that can affect you for a very long time. Around 70% of the people who reported experiencing 3 or more persistent medical symptoms were found to have PTSD, compared to 31% for people with 1 or 2, the study found. So once again, this is a greatly shortened version of the article. Links in the description below. But yeah, we're going to be hearing stories. We're going to be seeing stories about people's experiences living after PTSD. I'm sure we're going to be finding a churn in terms of medical professionals who just got burned out by PTSD and who leave or retire early. Oh yeah, John, I can see that. My ADHD and OCD mess with my PTSD. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. My kids had asthma when they were younger, and yeah, it was scary. Just it was it was just yeah, really scary just to see it. James Henry says it will be at least 2 generations before COVID will be forgotten. Yeah, shaking hands, dude. I'm with you. I was never a hugger. I I was never into hugging people. It's like, oh, how you doing? It's like, yeah, no, no, I'm not really doing that. But even now, but I agree with you. I think this whole handshaking thing, I think I'm going to say no, thank you. Yeah, Jesse Beer, exactly. Doctors and nurses have PTSD from treating it, right? Exactly. Wild Eden says, I'm not going to reveal how old I was in 1989. Thea was 3, huh? Wow. 24, 1989. So how old was I? I was 18, 19, 20. No, I was 21. I was 21 in 89. I see what you did there, Dave. GM released a new car for Easter under the banner Chevrolet Egg. Only comes in chocolate brown. Very nice, very nice. Okay, I think I caught up with everyone in the chat. Samuel A. Yep. Well, 17 in 1989. Yep. All right. Simply says, I'm a hug-friendly human, but lately I've been fist bumping a lot. Yep. I think I'm going with the elbow. I'm going with the elbow touch. That's what I'm going with. I'm going to stick to the elbows right now. It seems like a nice, safe alternative. You hug the huggers and distance from the distance fans. Very good. All right. So what's the next story? Matt Gaetz, how are we doing for time? We are doing awesome for time. It makes my heart feel not bad. All right. So I'm going to go to the story. I can't go to Dave's comment right now. I'm going to go to the next story about Mr. Gaetz and about how he's not very popular with Republicans. And that's, it's interesting how personalities affect politics, right? How personalities and who likes who and who has beef with who affects politics.
Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz for possible sex trafficking involving a 17-year-old girl, which he adamantly denies, has led to some really fascinating reporting about his reputation as a congressman. The Daily Beast has a striking news story, which includes that numerous lawmakers have discussed Gaetz' alleged proclivity for younger women, and that, quote, it's well known among Republican lawmakers that Gaetz was dating a college student, one over the age of consent, in 2018. She came to Washington as an intern. I want to be very clear, MSNBC has not confirmed this reporting, and Congressman Gaetz did not directly address the claim to the Daily Beast. We reached out to his office, seeking comment. They did not get back to us. For more on Gaetz' reputation on the Hill, I want to bring in one of the authors of that Daily Beast piece, senior politics editor, Matt Fuller. Matt, thanks for coming on the show. When you tweeted out this story, you wrote that you've been chasing allegations around Gaetz for years. Why have you been working on this for so long? What exactly is his reputation that drew you to him?
Yeah, I mean, this actually started for me almost exactly 3 years ago. We had a tip that he was dating an intern, not in his office, in another office. I sat across from that intern. I asked her questions. She later confirmed to me that, yes, she was dating him. She was over 21 at the time. We had some other concerns with the story, but the truth is we never ran it because we knew that there was a better story right around the corner. I think you're seeing a lot of this coming out that there's so many rumors that have been swirling around Matt Gaetz for years. There's always been sort of questions about what he's been up to in his extracurricular life. And, it sort of became a white whale for me. I've heard all these different allegations. I've heard all the rumors. Members love to talk about Matt Gaetz because no one really likes Matt Gaetz. He doesn't have many friends on Capitol Hill.
And when you say
he's really sort of...
Yeah,
go ahead.
When you say members love to talk about Matt Gaetz, you're not just talking about Democrats, right? You're talking about Republican members.
No, I'm primarily talking about Republicans. Matt Gaetz didn't make friends here. He really attacked Republicans for insufficient Trump support. He was one of those guys who came to Congress right with Donald Trump, and he came here to be an ally of the president, or now the former president. And he made that no mistakes about that. And he went on cable news almost every night and sort of called out a lot of Republican colleagues. He did this most recently with Liz Cheney. He went to her district, the GOP conference chairwoman, and started a campaign against her to have her lose her job in the Republican conference. This is not a man who is very well liked in the Republican conference.
So he did go to Weyer. I mean, I just want to show our viewers what he did when he went there. Have a listen.
Liz Cheney wants to assemble her supporters and advocate her America Last policies. I invite her to do so. I'm here to be the masthead for the America First movement going forward.
Do you think Liz Cheney's partying tonight?
I don't know about partying. I think for every Republican, this is a little bit. I mean, first of all, the allegations here are extremely serious. If true, he was victimizing a 17-year-old. We haven't confirmed that. I can tell you that yes, I know that he dated women who were much younger than him in their early 20s. But the Justice Department probe that still remains to be unverified, but at least by us at this point. I think it's certainly telling that Republicans haven't jumped to his defense. He has this sort of insane theory about extortion, but there actually are a lot of indications that some of this might be true, or at least he has the patina of truth here. And yet Republicans aren't jumping to his aid. He's put forward this whole scheme about a $25 million plot, and somehow Bob Levinson, this disappeared former CIA agent, has reemerged in the story somehow. But Republicans aren't jumping to defend Matt Gaetz tonight, and I think that's because a lot of them are hearing these allegations and going, "Oh, that kind of rings true."
Although, come on, Matt, he's got Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jim Jordan in his corner. Who wouldn't want those two stalwarts of the party backing
with those by your side? I mean, it's sort of amazing. In the entire Republican conference, it's Jim Jordan, who I guess in some ways is one of his closest friends in Congress. He's the ranking Republican on the Judiciary Committee. Matt Gaetz is on the Judiciary Committee. He was the Freedom Caucus chairman. Matt Gaetz is in the Freedom Caucus. And then, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who makes no mistakes about, disbelieving any media report that is negative on Republicans.
Yeah, the woman who thought a space laser was involved in the California wildfires tells us it's all a witch hunt, so that's useful. Let me ask you this. Gaetz had reportedly been looking into leaving Congress early to go work for right-wing media. Do we know what the status on that is? Fox News seems out. They said in a statement yesterday, no one with any level of authority has had conversations with Matt Gaetz for any of our platforms. We have no interest in hiring him. Ouch.
Yeah, I think some of the interest there would have dried up pretty immediately when you have this probe hanging over you. I think that, part of this is on the same day that this information came out that he was looking to leave Congress and go take a media job, which frankly has been a large part of his actual congressional career, is going on TV, defending the latest Trump outrage. But I don't think it's an accident that he was looking for his exit plan, because if this is proven to be true, these allegations, he's not going to be able to stay in Congress. There's obviously criminal ramifications for his actions, but there are also congressional ones. Speaker Pelosi said today that, it wouldn't just be him being removed from committees. The ethics committee would go after him. And, if it is true that he's having a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old, I imagine he'd probably be expelled if he fought this.
Of course. Yeah, the committee thing is just not enough, if that's the case. We'll have to leave it there. Matt Fuller of the Daily Beast, thank you so much for...
There you go. No one likes Matt. And this is the thing that people don't understand. And I'm going to bring it to evolution. I'm going to bring it about survival of the fittest, right? A lot of knuckleheads don't really understand what that phrase means. And it's like, the super aggressive, the needlessly aggressive, those aren't the organisms that always survive. Sometimes you got to make friends. Sometimes you got to run with a crew and with people who will be able to protect you. This guy, Matt Gaetz, he just threw all of his money. He went balls in. He went balls in behind Trump. See, that sounds weird. And now he just keeps pushing. He just keeps pushing. And even Fox doesn't want him. Where's he going to go? Newsmax? OAN? Maybe? Possibly. He's crazy enough for those two sites. Well, he does, Jesse Bear. He has the face of an evil villain. And actually, he is someone who looks more attractive with a face mask. He is someone who looks more attractive with a face mask on. You should just keep that on all the time. Yeah, yeah, well, I mean, this is the bright shining light of this Republican sex scandal, is that it's just with a 17-year-old girl. This is true. Simply Secular Dave. Mac, he signed up for a 23andMe because he thought it was a dating site. Indeed. Hey, what's up, Sean? Glad to see that you made it, sir. Those freeze frames of Matt, they are hilarious, Jesse Bear. They are hilarious. Well, that's what it is. The man just oozes. It's such hacky. It's just hacky crap that they say, right? It's like, I'm for America first and Liz Cheney, her America last. Her America last policies. It's like, really? That's your mic drop moment? That's your mic drop moment? Yeah, I mean, I have, people within my pod. Like the people that I choose to have physical contact with is, of course, my girlfriend and my kids. Everyone else, I don't know. Very suspicious. Wild Eden, yeah, I was social distancing, like not to this extreme, of course, but like I said, I've never been a hugger. Never been and now bringing it back to Simply Secular Dave. It's weird that the safest kind of sex you can have now is very sexful, costume coverage, and mask. Yeah, just make sure that mask is like a good mask. Only hug your bubble, people. That's right, Jesse Bear. Here it is. Thank you, Bearing Bug. Survival of the fittest. Possessing genetic traits allows your descendants to thrive under altered ecological pressures. Thank you. All right. I think we covered everything about Matt here. Oh, yeah. Well, you're right about that, Sean. Watching conservatives implode in on themselves is like a symphony, especially for like an a-hole like Matt Gaetz. Yeah. Watching them just go, I don't know him. I'm not going to defend him. Balls behind Trump, right? John Hudson? Yeah. That was not a good political strategy for Mr. Gaetz. So what are we going to talk about here? Oh, well, we're going to have to talk about this guy, Derek Chauvin, his trial. We're going to, this is the news story. Chauvin's former supervisor testifies restraint should have ended much sooner. For those of you who, I don't know if you don't know this story about George Floyd and about Derek Chauvin keeping his knee on George Floyd for an insane amount of time. I'm just going to get to the story. Retired. This is one of those stories too that's it has to be talked about. I have the feels about this story. Retired Sergeant David, I'm going to pronounce it, Pledger of the Minneapolis Police Department testified Thursday in the trial of former officer Derek Chauvin that the force officers used against George Floyd went on too long and should have ended once Floyd had been handcuffed and stopped resisting. This is, and I just want to let you know, everyone, this is like basic 101 stuff. When the person stops resisting, that's when you release them. In fact, when you do physical restraints, when I've done physical restraints on people, as they loosen, in other words, if they're struggling really hard, you have to maintain a hard grip, I'm doing the basket hold grip right here, I guess. You're supposed to have, firm pressure to make sure they don't wiggle out. As they relax, you relax with them too. They relax more, you relax, and when they're completely relaxed, you basically verbally contract with them that, are you okay? Is everything, that they're going to be safe, and then you release them. That's how we would do it. When Mr. Floyd was no longer offering any resistance to the officers, they should have ended the restraint, Pledger told the court. It would be reasonable to put a knee on someone's neck. No, it's not. It's not reasonable to put a knee on someone's neck. It's not reasonable. And this is how effed up the police departments are here in this country, is that this guy can just say with a straight conscience, with a clear conscience, like, it's okay to put a knee on someone's neck. There are some circumstances it's okay to put a knee on someone's neck. No. Breathe, Andy. It would be reasonable to put a knee on someone's neck until they are not resisting anymore. But it should stop when they are no longer combative, he said, later adding that officers are supposed to put restrained subjects on their side to help with their breathing. According to police policy, anyone who's done first aid, who's had a first aid class, knows you put people on their side, right? That's just what you do. The veteran law enforcement officer is a supervisor who was called by 911 dispatcher Jenna Scurry on the day Floyd died in police custody. Scurry, who testified on Monday, had become alarmed watching real-time video footage of the arrest and told the court that the officers pinned Floyd to the ground in a prone position for so long she initially believed her dispatch screen had frozen. I'm going to say it again. Told the court that the officers pinned Floyd to the ground in a prone position for so long she initially believed her dispatch screen had frozen. In a tape of her call to the department, the court heard her telling Pledger that she believed the officers used excessive force, but that the incident had not been reported as of that moment. That call prompted Pledger to call Chauvin on his cell phone, an exchange the jury heard for the very first time. In the call, the sergeant asked Chauvin what's going on. Lies. Mistruths, not telling him the entire truth. That's what Mr. Chauvin did, Derek Chauvin did. I was just going to call and have you come out to our scene here. The defendant can be heard saying, yeah, that's right. Sure, you were going to just give him a call. We had to hold a guy down. He was going crazy. He wouldn't go in the back of the squad, Chauvin said before the recorded portion of the call was cut off. He does not tell Pledger that he managed to restrain Floyd by pressing his knee into the black man's neck for nearly 9 minutes as onlookers narrated what appeared to be his final breaths. The story goes on. I believe the links are in the description below. But I just want to say, knee on someone's neck. No, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. Wow. Here we go. James Henry. Chauvin had 19 complaints against him before using excessive force before the Floyd incident. Man. Here we go. Blazing neck. Knee on the neck is no different than a chokehold. It is important to do one thing: restrict breathing of the opponent, restrict blood to the carotid. Yeah, you don't need to do chokehold. You don't need to do a chokehold to actually control someone's movement. You don't need to do a chokehold to control a person's body. Now count with me in 3 to relax. Well, you're right, James Henry. The man was a time bomb. The man was a time bomb. In fact, I've seen people restrain my ex-wife, who is not a tall person, not a physically strong person. I've seen her restrain people much larger than she was back in the day. Yeah, it's not acceptable to put your freaking knee on someone's neck. Come on, man. Come on. How much control do you have over the pressure on your knee, right? How much control do you have on it? And once again, I want to point out that each police department, so your police department in the city that you live in may have a no chokehold policy. The next town over may have a chokehold policy. So it isn't even within states that there's uniformity. It goes from police department to police department. That's how insane policing here is in the United States of America. It goes from municipality to municipality. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Just try and keep up with the chat here. Well, simply secular Dave. There's a reason that kneeling the back of someone's neck is considered an illegal hold in competitive wrestling. Yeah. Indeed. Right at 54 minutes, I'm going to show you guys the last funny video. Once again, we're doing the after party at 10 a.m. Let's do something. Try to get ourselves a little happier. Try to put a smile on our faces. That's what I'm going to try to do.
Hey, Coulter, did you know that you are fat? Coulter, Cooper, what are you doing?
Cooper is not fat. He is happy. He is happy in Cooper's dimensions. Something about cats, right? Brings the blood pressure down. Well, B, exactly. A fake $20 bill equals death if you're black, right? If you're black in that city. Wow. All right. I'm going to do my thank you video for my patrons, for YouTube members. Thank you very much for supporting the show. I'm going to see you guys in, well, if you're around, right, for the 10 o'clock show. Link to the backstage is in the description. I'll see you all later. And if nothing else, I'm doing Jenga today at 3 p.m. too. Woohoo, Jenga!